less a woman, sometimes the other way around, and it's like...
And Bianca loved us all.
You're loving a plastic doll.
Especially Mark.
You haven't developed the insides proper.
Well, you could say that, but I think that can also be looked at artistically as a... Because artists, people who make this stuff, think about the world, yeah? They're able to think about what human beings do in different situations. Again, it's psychology, they study it. They know what affects and influences you, the people who are going to watch it, to make it a successful thing. You know, they know how to tell a story, and telling a story is literally a series of events that happens to a human being, innit? A start, middle and an end. And why are we captivated by the story of the other human being and not our own human life? You know, because it's not written down, because it's not on TV, because you can't sit down and just watch and relax and flick through to the end and see what happens. You know, see if it's got any special effects in our life. The special effects, if you ask me, are like emotions that you see in colour when you've got emotion. When you're separated from your emotion because you choose not to think about certain things, because it makes you feel emotional, either makes you feel happy or sad. And one of those things people are avoiding for whatever reason. They're in a bad mood, so they don't want to get happy because that spoils their perfect anger, you know. They want to be indignant and they want to project that anger to the other. But to project anger to yourself, oh, that's a hard one. That means you're taking responsibility, doesn't it? That means you're feeling that way, but you're vindicating it and here's that word again, justifying it as being righteous.
Well, if you're not hard on yourself, you've no right being hard on other people.
Exactly. But that's a true lesson there. That's a true adult speaking, not a child. Someone who's accepted the responsibility. And God all the time saying, the children, the children, the children. Every human being to God is a child, me included, you included, everybody. We think we know and we're barely scratching the surface. Yet in the human world, those that know a little bit, just like being the difference between being 12 and 16, if you're in this arrested development, your mental maturity will never go past 12. You'll do the things of a 12-year-old and you'll be satisfied with that. But if you reach the mental maturity of a 16-year-old, you take a bit more responsibility, don't you?
Oh, I don't know, there's stories of being 12 and teaching in the temple and what are you doing? Don't you know?
Metaphor, isn't it? At 12, you can be an adult.
Well, it's not necessarily an adult, you can be mature.
Yeah. Well, I was always pretty mature, even when I was
Mature like
16.
in completion, like in...
Compared to other kids, not compared to myself or compared to the highest form of maturity, no. But compared to other kids my age, I was hanging around with people that were like pensioners. And obviously pensioners lived a life and they'll tell you about their life. And if you're smart, wise or whatever, or if you just listen, you can get wisdom out of that. You can realise he's been along this path of life and I could see some of these things. People who go and have lives like that reach mental maturity much faster. This is why the old, people who are older than you, are to be listened to, respected, they said in the Bible. You know? There was it became a saying in it, respect your elders, which is it's a colloquial, local way of saying the same lessons we should have learned from the great philosophies. Problem maybe with philosophy for some people is that they talk too many words and they don't soundbite it. If you can soundbite it, I've soundbited it for ages, but I'm expounding on it because maybe some people just don't believe that it is the answer for all things. Love is the law, love is the answer.
Love is...
I mean, yeah, you can...
Not really understood, is it though? Love is the answer. What?
Before we had the technology, we were still alive, we were still living here, but people saw an imperfection in the world. Was that a correct thought to have? Was the world imperfect, or were we imperfect in the moment we saw the imperfection? Well, is there a truth in that? Are we happier for the things we've created? of the things we've created a situation where we're going to see countless billions die before our eyes and create a psychological trauma on humanity that we have to carry the wounds of, you know, write the story and say, oh, and on that day billions of people died and forevermore we will not do this and we'll never speak of that again, you know, and go back to fear and all of that ignorance. No. Humanity is on a path that's ever forwards, you know, we're just always going forwards, and the things that we've carried with us in the past, they're all there as books and other things. Some people say, you know what, we need to forget about the past, lighten this load, get rid of that knowledge, get rid of that old way of doing it, it's just about the future. Well, there is no future without everything you've had in the past, the knowledge of mathematics, the knowledge of engineering, the knowledge of building houses, the knowledge of medicines and all of that. That's why it's not just petrol that did it. It's not just petrol that did it. It's caring about our conditions, caring about living more. Some of the answers we've got were never implemented by the people that invented them. It's like it took them their entire life to create something and they never got to use it, but all of us did. Don't you think that's weird? Don't you think that's like sacrifice? Dedicating your whole life to a problem and fixing the problem for humanity, when most of the rest of humanity, they're not asked. They don't problem solve for nobody. Their problem solving is making a sandwich and eating it without dying. You know, their problem solving is always about solving the self. So when you say solve the self, a lot of people don't know how to interpret what you just said. It sounds simple, you saying it, but you're saying it from a higher level. If you say it from their level, then it can't be knowledge just of self. It's got to be look at and consider the other. Consider the ants then, right? Consider the society of ants and how they don't have some of the problems that we have as a society, but that's only one solution, isn't it? That doesn't tell you how to care about people, because if you use insectilian belief systems on society, then we've already got that hierarchy. We've got the queen, haven't we? And everybody gives their power to the queen. And people don't like that, do they? If you say, oh, what about bees? Bees are great. Everybody loves bees. Bees keep the world alive. They pollinate the flowers. Yeah. But the system of hierarchy in a bee's world is there's the queen, and then everybody else is a worker bee. Worker bee, sorry. Yeah?
That's the queen bean.
Yeah, I was just Ren and Stimpy. The green bean. Yeah, but you know, that type of system, people have said already, they don't like it. What is it about it actually really that they don't like? Or do they like it? But they don't want to admit it because it shows weakness. The human beings like to look weak. They like to show that they need others. We've been taught, don't do that. It's a shameful thing. In other words, it's like saying if you haven't got money to pay your own bills, you're a bad person. If you haven't got money to pay your own bills and you're on the dole, if you're taking money off the government, you're a bad person, says the worker. Me, I'm working. I'm full of myself. I've got a job. I'm one of the lucky few. Yet I haven't stopped for a minute to consider the other because I'm considering the perfection of self. I just do my work. I just do my job. And that's great. My world is right and God's right with me and I'm right with God and the world is right and nobody troubles me. Yeah? But has that considered the effect on other, the effect of benefit sanctions, and that other will die? When the other is self, this is very important, isn't it? Because they don't like it happening to themselves. Without thinking about other, how can you say you know God?
Policy of the USOC. This would for both. Thing is this, and here. Got in on the act.
What do you mean there is no other?
Like I say, another person is just you under different circumstances. Circumstances which hasn't led necessarily to the insights which you as you may be privy to. That's not to say that you should look down on them, it's still God inhabiting
and sell it
for $60. A personality same way.
We're in the supplement business now. The scary
an
part is that
amnesiac
everything I just did is by the book. Well, except for the illegal
in that
immigrant
they've
alien version.
forgotten
But hey,
themselves
nobody's regulating them
and they
either.
act just like the person.
Now I just need a misleading advertisement.
They airbrush
Rather
these
than-
guys a lot when they put them in magazines. Definitely, there's all kinds of techniques
Child
and
of
tools you
God.
can use to completely manipulate
Which
the
they
body.
truly are.
Right. In fact, I mean, some of the.
But if you don't see the child of God in others, how can you truly even see it in yourself?
Well, let's just.
You know,
so
we're not
who's-
born
who's
with a
gonna be
mirror.
talking about-
Mirrors were
who's gonna be
invented,
talking
aren't
about- When I'm talking, I know what I'm talking about. I understand that every other person is just a child of God trapped.
That's an
inside a human
assertion.
personality.
That's an assertion, and you're entitled to that assertion. And if I said the same thing about myself, is that any lesser or greater than your assertion?
Well, if you were to say it and I was listening, I'd say, well, Jules, you don't know God like I know God.
Are you entitled to say that? I don't say that because I think that's itself being ignorant because nobody knows.
Well, I
Nobody knows.
I know.
All right, you know. Blessed are you. But for me, the more I grow and study, the more I realise, yeah, I know a lot of stuff, but just because I know a lot of stuff doesn't mean that I can start now going around and imposing that on people, because that's not the way people learn. I myself have looked at myself, my younger self, and said, when I was a child, did I like it when people tried to ram something down my throat as a piece of knowledge without me first accepting it? Don't forget, we went to different schools, and the reason we went to those schools is because we was on the ball. We knew answers to things. We'd studied. When you study, yeah, you learn about something.
Fluked it. by the
Fluke,
crazy.
nothing. I studied my ass off. Yeah, right. Such is the way it is. Yeah, you have natural gifts, but if you create a stimulating environment, yeah, even with those lab mice that have had that gene removed, you know, for learning, yeah, when they're put in a more stimulating environment, they do better, in fact, than the other mice, proving that it's not just about the what you find yourself born with, but what you do with it. And people don't see that. Bob was way ahead of his time. That's why to him they're crazy. Way ahead of his time. He's talking things that's for now.
He wasn't way ahead of his time. He was well situated in his time.
In his time, but because he was well situated in it, and connections to the past show you the future. Okay, because nothing's changed about humanity. People can say, "Oh, we wore suits of armor." What are you talking about? Oh, we had different technology, but the condition of being human has not changed, not one bit. And that's why you can say looking at other is really looking at self. I know what you mean. I know what you're trying to say, but it doesn't discount the fact that there's the duality of what you just said. Because there is another, and the other is me talking back to you, and the other is you talking back to me.
Yeah, but it's still the main reality is still the main reality. The main reality is God, and these are just personalities which we.
Well, a way of visualizing that is yes, please. The way of visualizing that for me is life is a computer system, simulation. Life is a simulation in some type of computer, something that makes it happen. Yeah? Something that you put the rules into it and it sustains it. Now you can call that computer either God, or you can call the programmer of the computer God, or you can call the guy that sits at the keyboard God. You can call us God, because we're part of that. Just like you can call your cup yourself. Didn't man make it? And who did he make it for? Man made everything in his own image. Just like God made everything in his own image. You can't escape that fact. If you make a shelf, it's for man to put stuff on. What stuff? Man's stuff. It's a reflection of what man needs. This is man. If man was able to stop being man and be God, then man would be shelf, man would be floor, man would be sky, man would be everything that he needs to sustain himself, wouldn't it?